in my experience as an advisor, most clients leave the inheritance kind of as like a big surprise.
Surprise!
Right? Like in terms of what you're going to get or what's there or how much of it you're entitled to, where it is, how much of it there is. It's like you'll find out when I'm dead and not a moment sooner. That seems to be kind of the prevailing American way on this particular topic.
Or even worse, it's surprise, you're the executive of my estate. Welcome to this thankless job you got there. I'm reminded of the game show Family Feud when they say, like, we've surveyed like 100 people and their top 5 responses are on the board. What's the most important conversation you have with your kids? I don't think anybody would say about like inheritance, and how important is that conversation to have? Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Saturday State of Mind. I'm joined by my partner in crime, partner in life, Mike Panico.
Here
Hi, Mike.
I am.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going great, Jess.
I gotta tell you something.
Hit me.
We gotta sit down with the kids and have a talk.
Why? What'd they do this time?
Well, certainly what they did, but we're talking today about how to talk to your kids about inheritance.
Okay.
It's a big conversation.
People usually don't do this.
Well, yeah, probably after maybe the birds and the bees conversation, it's the biggest one you're going to have with your kids, which is, how much money are you going to get when I'm not here? Or how much debt am I going to leave you with, maybe?
So I don't know if that's a mischaracterization. I don't know if people actually have this talk. There's a lot of talks that you have with your kids.
Sure.
Generally when they're kids, adolescents, young adults maybe. But at some point you blink and your kids are full-blown adults, and sometimes with kids of their own, right? And you're getting older. You're going to maybe need their help in some capacity, especially in your, golden years. But even that aside, at some point, the kids might get a little bit of what's left over. And you probably assume that they're going to get a piece of the house, right? They might have to split it with some siblings. But then there's the other financial accounts. And this might be more so a generational thing. But I find that in my experience as an advisor, most clients leave the inheritance kind of as like a big surprise.
Surprise!
Right? Like in terms of what you're going to get or what's there or how much of it you're entitled to, where it is, how much of it there is. It's like you'll find out when I'm dead and not a moment sooner. That seems to be kind of the prevailing American way on this particular topic.
Or even worse, it's surprise, you're the executive of my estate.
Yeah.
Welcome to this thankless job you got there.
And sometimes there's other honoraries along the way, like healthcare proxy or power of attorney.
Yeah. How many times do you think in the hospital, someone said like, oh, my daughter, my son's my healthcare proxy. And the child was like, I am. We never talked about what they want, their wishes,
Sure.
For any of this stuff. That conversation probably happens literally all the time. I think I'm reminded of, the game show Family Feud when they say, like, we've surveyed like 100 people and their top 5 responses are on the board. What's the most important conversation you have with your kids? I don't think anybody would say about like inheritance or like planning, like for once I'm not here or I'm old. And how important is that conversation to have?
I think it's important to understand this conversation is multifaceted, and it requires probably a little bit of parental prompting. I don't think a lot of kids feel like it's within their right to approach mom and dad and say, I've got questions or concerns about what's going on with your finances. Let's sit down. I brought a bottle of wine. I want you to talk to me and tell me what's going on. I think a lot of kids feel like that's not their place to ask for that. So I think parents have to put it on themselves to prompt this. And where I would start is, what kind of family values are you trying to create? And or can you put yourself in a position where you open yourself up to your children? So if they do have any questions or concerns about your financial future or perhaps their involvement in it, that conversation can get out in the open. And mind you, some kids don't even think this way. They might not even have any concerns about you because they assume that mom and dad have it all figured out. And maybe you do and maybe you don't. Or they're not aware that sometimes kids have to become involved. So I wouldn't just assume that they're going to be pining to have this conversation. For a lot of them, it's going to be highly emotional. It could be intimidating. They could be clueless about it. So again, that's why I think parents kind of have to prompt this conversation along and just be prepared for any kind of reaction and response.
Well, I know you said too that the kids aren't always, approaching you saying like, "Hey, mom, dad, what's your like financial situation? Let me know." And let's say, for instance, that mom and dad are like in their mid 60s and the kids are like in their early 40s, right? So we're talking about adult children here, not little ones. I've heard like a handful of times before people saying like, I didn't know my parents' financial situation until it was too late. Mom and dad like didn't plan properly. Like they ran out of money and they just like came to me and was like, "Hey, I need help here." And you're, maybe putting that on your kids too. So this conversation is not just really for people that have like, $2 million saved for retirement. It's just about having these open conversations. And if you are that adult child too, I don't think it's a bad idea to broach that conversation with your older parents saying like, "Hey, what is your situation? I don't need dollars and cents, but have you and dad done proper like planning like for your retirement? Like, is the money gonna, outlive you? Like, or is there gonna be a shortfall situation?"
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased, of course, as an advisor. I think it's really important to have clarity and transparency as it relates to finances within people who are close knit. So there's never any consternation or worry, concern. So for me, a great conversation to start with is, okay, kids, I'd love to sit down with you for a little bit. Mom and I, we're going to be retiring and you might have some concerns. I don't want you to be concerned because we've done some great planning. We should have plenty of money. Here's our rough battle plan, just so you have an idea. If something happens to me, like I'm not able to make financial decisions because I take a blow to the head or something, I want you to have an idea of what we've cooked up so you can either help both of us along the way, or if something happens to me, you can help your mother or vice versa. I just want you to have an idea that things are going to be okay. That might be a version of that. Another version might be, "Hey, this should work, but it's a little tight," or "There's some big risks in here and some big what ifs." We might have to make big changes along the way if luck isn't on our side, if the economy goes to the worst. And we don't want to spring that on you kids if that situation, evolves into that state. So like, listen, mom and I, we're going to take some action to defend ourselves, buffer you as best as we can. But I just felt in the issue of fairness, if we were to ever to turn to you and say, "Hey, we might need some help," we wanted you to be aware of things. This conversation, that one, like this one I'm talking about right now, for a lot of people, they might not have the humbleness to have it, right? Because it's a big ego thing to especially to your children.
I'm not telling my kid I used to wipe his butt.
I'm concerned. I'm scared about the future. Maybe my plans are only half baked, or there's some big vulnerabilities with them. To say that to kids it's kind of like a twisting of the tables. Most parents don't want to put themselves in that position, but we have to face it. And this is the ego thing too, right? It's easy to say in your 50s or 60s, "I won't need these kids." But if your plan unravels in your 70s or 80s or 90s, you will probably distinctly need them. And I think it's really unfair. I think this was the point that you were making earlier, just to spring that on the kids when the what's hitting the fan, right? So just to have that conversation, to begin it earlier, is usually a great start.
I think that's why it's like so neat too that we work with a lot of individuals here that will bring their kids into the financial planning process too. Say they're in their like mid to late 60s, maybe they do all the initial planning with us, and then one of their annual reviews, they come in, they're like, "You know what? I really want to bring like my son into the next meeting here because I know I have this plan and I know I can articulate it right now. And I always know Arcadia is going to be there for me. So maybe I'm like in my 90s and I'm not really sure the best thing. I've put my trust in Arcadia, but I'd also feel good if I can bring my like son in that conversation." And that's such a beautiful thing where like, there's multiple people in the family know what's going on.
I love it when people bring their kids because it brings the kids into the conversation. If something were to happen, there's a successor almost to step in and to assist with all the planning and all the actions that might need to be undertaken as part of retirement and making the retirement plan work. But it's also a way of transferring values. If your money is going to be used in large part to create memories by taking people on experiences or family trips or something, getting the kids involved with that so they understand and can make the time allotments to make all this magic happen, I believe is huge. Similarly, maybe mom and dad have big charitable endeavors, right? There's things that are important to them, whether it be a certain cause or their church, making sure the kids are privy to that. So maybe they can participate or some of those values can rub off on them can be a great thing too. And as I was mentioning earlier, it eliminates that moment where the only reason that people get involved is because of crisis. right? Oftentimes people don't get involved until mom's in the hospital, right? Or dad's died unexpectedly. And now they have all this work. They never had any kind of idea or appreciation how big of a burden was going to be, what a time commitment was going to be, where's all this money, how do I access it, where are dad's passwords? Like, it can be nightmarish if it's just sprung on you. But if you're part of a process and you're attending a bunch of meetings over the course of, like, in some cases, years, then you're kind of second fiddle. You're a consigliere, you're your co-pilot. And this is a role in a situation that, you can just kind of step in seamlessly and not be caught unaware.
Absolutely. So whether you're bringing, the kids into a professional financial planning conversation, whether you're approaching the topic with your children, whether you're going to approach it with your parents too with some sensitivity, just have the conversation. And that's how I talk about inheritance. Hey, if this video was helpful, like and subscribe to more. We'll see you next time. If you like this video and it helped you, watch another one. And don't forget to hit subscribe.